Okay.
Hello, everyone.
One.
Welcome to week two. Um, Last week was week one. This is week two. Not a lot has changed. These have been definitely, I would say, what may be the slowest start to a BBSS season we've ever had. Not for lack of like people aren't actively playing, but we've, for better or worse, had two very, very inactive, easy first boots that no one has had to talk about. Thus, there's not a lot of game to talk. Thus, there's only so much you can do. So, I think as we leave week two and head into week three, we're already starting to see some things bubble and change. However, in terms of week two, it'll likely be kind of similar things that we've had to
Mhm.
say about some people. I know I have some new thoughts on some people that we'll dive into, but I think this may, both because of our schedule right now, but also because we don't need to talk ourselves in circles. Maybe a quicker rankings
Yeah.
because it's pretty simple and straightforward compared to what we were dealing with last week to this week. So um this week we saw Karina and Kaylin win HOH. Karina nominated Jamie and Citrus, as we predicted last week that they would end up on the block. Kaylin nominated Danny and Ashlyn, which was not something that I personally thought was likely, but they did hit the block. Ashlyn and Jamie won the duo's duel, leaving Citrus and Danny in the line of fire. Citrus won the Golden Power of Veto. Karina went through with the plan to backdoor Julia, and she was promptly evicted by a vote of 11 to 1 after Julia campaigned to no one.
10-1.
Okay. Steven, any overarching thoughts on the week, or do we just want to dive in person to
Yeah, I
person
was just
here?
correcting that was 10-1, but that was it.
Oh,
Overarching thoughts on the week. Hmm. We're down to our start of the season here. We
14
decided to
people
we
left.
decided to only go with 14 house guests this season.
Um, yeah, yeah. Well, let's dive in.
Let's.
Alrighty. Starting off with Ashlyn. Last week, Ashlyn had a five from both of us.
I will
Um,
say, wait, I will say before you go, my favorite, I mean, there weren't a lot of good moments from this week, but my favorite moment from the week, I think, was during the duos duel when the competition was, or like the task that I had to do during the competition was who's missing. Scott, I don't think you know this, but
oh no, I found this out about like 2 hours ago.
and I think Ashlyn started and she was like, I can do it in 15 seconds. And I was like, oh. And then Danny was like, I can do it in 12 seconds. And I was like, oh. And then Ashlyn was like, I can do it in 9 seconds. And I was like, okay, let's do it in 9 seconds. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, Scott never sent me the answer to who it was. So I had to find out who it was, and I was like under so much pressure too. I was so nervous because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm doing it in front of everyone," and I was like, "Okay." And it took me so much longer than 9 seconds. And Ashlyn had to do it. She was like, "Oh fuck," but I was like, "Go." All right, that's time.
It
9 seconds. So they
was
quickly
Darren.
figured out. I think Ashlyn Moore won because Danny couldn't do. I don't think either of them completed any of the tasks.
That's normally how
Yeah,
comps like this go. People always overestimate it. You are better off getting someone else to do a task and failing than doing it yourself, I feel like.
yeah, yeah. Jamie like kind of egged Citrus on. Like Jamie was like 40 seconds, knowing that she couldn't do it, and Citrus was like 39, and she was like, "Well, go ahead."
Oh, well, work. Um,
Well,
so
anyway,
yeah,
Ashlyn.
Ashlyn.
That was a funny moment that I liked this week from Ashlyn.
Yeah.
I just like
Um,
I don't know. I like Ashlyn's vibe. You
I
know?
like Ashlyn's vibe too. It's so funny sitting on FaceTime with her. If I like turn off my camera or like I put my phone down and I'm just listening to a conversation, her and Liz like sound and speak the same. Um, this is a week three conversation of like early on, but Ashlyn was on the phone with Karina, and I was like, it just sounds like Liz is here. It was crazy. Um, my favorite dynamic is Juan has arbitrarily chosen Ashlyn as like his number one, even though like Ashlyn has not given Juan a lot to like go off of on that front. And Juan is like constantly like, Ashlyn, like I just talked to this person. They say they don't talk to you at all. Ashlyn, I just talked to this person. They said they would put you up because you don't speak to them. Ashlyn, I just talked to this person and they said that you're awful. So maybe like get it together. And I'm, oh my, like, okay, work. Um, and then Ashlyn like goes and tries to have conversations with people, but like some of the ways that she started is like Juan will tell her like you need to have a conversation with this person, and then Ashlyn will go and just like make a chat with like Riley and be like, "Hey Riley, would love to FaceTime. We should talk games soon." And like I don't know, and it's like okay, sure, why not? Um,
Oh, I need to join more calls. I've been so busy this first week of the game that joining the calls is always my favorite part of the season. And there's so many this season. There's
there
so
are
many
so many
people
calls.
on.
90% of them are only personal conversations. I had a
No, and
few
I
games.
hate it. I joined Suba and Cyan and I was like, I love you guys, but I don't. I want to hear you talk some shit. And they were like, we don't know how to talk game. And I'm like, why am I here?
Um, yeah, that'll be an evolving thing that there was definitely some game conversations that we'll dive into in week 2 here. Ashlyn was not a part of any of them. Um, Ashlyn, for me this week, I will be lowering my score to a 4. The reason I had her at a 5 last week was because she was pretty in like an average spot, and no one was really talking about her name. And the fact that she was tied to Danny, I thought that Danny was going to pull their duo up. Unfortunately, Ashlyn seemed to be pulling their duo down. So that was something that I was wrong about. I do think that she is someone that is still a bit on the outs, unfortunately. However, being tied to Danny is still good. Um, if she lost that duo's duel, I do think she could have been in some trouble. However, ultimately, Julia was a big enough target anyway that it was fine. I will be lowering my score for Ashlyn though to a 4 for this week.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to go to a 4 as well. Um, yeah, I think Ashlyn, especially now that the duos twist is ending very soon, I don't think that there's necessarily any more. Like, you know how when we start the game and it's like, oh, you're nominated and that's an easy thing to keep going? I think that might reset when we go into like the new stage of the game after week 3. Um, at least with Ashlyn, I kind of feel like, especially as we're moving into like an individual game. Um, but yeah, 4 for me was a 5 because I feel like, yeah, she was a little like quieter last week, wasn't making waves, but now she was on the block. Won the competition. Great first comp win, but 4 for me. Oh, and I got to update the graph. So fun. 4. Oh, first line of the season featuring Ashlyn. Oh,
Just to let you know, it's no worries because it's not like we're revealing anything behind the curtain. But I feel like normally we don't see you plug it in on the spreadsheet, and we did there. But
oh,
not that it
oh! I'm
matters.
on the wrong thing.
Um,
That's why. Okay, now it should be better.
okay, fine. Okay, moving on
Season
to
17 snafu.
Season 17 Snafu, for sure. Moving on to Caden. Um, Caden this week for me had a really, really strong week. Caden has shown me this week that he's going to be one of the best players this season, I feel like. Um, he's just really set up in the most formal alliances in the house. He's doing good damage control, having Damon as his partner. Um, he's got now the alliance with Danny and Suba. He set up an alliance with Juan and Karina this week, which I think is actually really key for him because now heading into week 3, like he's got his duo, the alliance with Suba and Cyan, with Danny and Ashlyn, now Karina and Kaylin, and Juan and Jason. That's what 5 out of the 7 remaining duos. Um, huge for him. Um, everyone really seems to trust him. Even the people like Juan, who was like a little wary at first. Like everyone's really come around on Caden, and no one is talking about him as this huge threat. Like everyone is still just like talking with him, really liking him. I think Caden's doing a good job at managing his threat level. The only person who is on to him is Jason, and we'll about Jason when we get to Jason. But like, I don't think Jason is really in the position to do anything about that right now. Um, so all that being said, I'm impressed with Caden this week, and I will be raising my score to a 7.
I think I'm gonna stay at my 6. Um, I don't think in my mind he's as high as maybe some other people, and maybe who I gave the 7 to last week. But I am impressed with Caden, especially as we move forward into the game past week 2. So I do think we could see it going up depending on how this week goes. And I do think Caden will be here for a little bit. So excited to see what happens with Caden. 6 from me. 6.5. Wow, my screen sharing is updating this time, which is good because a lot of the times it does not. Citrus.
Citrus fruit. Alrighty. Citrus. Um, let's start with the positive. I really like citrus. Citrus is really cool. Citrus is awesome. Um, seems to be having a good time playing. It's like
Yeah,
sent in a
very
few
like having a good time and also like is here most of the time, which is
is
great.
always here. Like send a plea is here for the competitions. I know that sounds like a baseline thing, but like when we see like you're there like consistently, always free responding in the DR, like yeah, like happy to have citrus on this cast. Um,
The rest of the cast is not happy to have Citrus on the cast, apparently, because
it's not
she's
that they're not
getting
happy to have citrus on the cast.
nominated.
It's just that like I think citrus comes from a different world of the fandom. I think the non-face games that say citrus and Julia are maybe come
Yeah, I
from
think now
more.
that Julia's gone, uh, and as the twist ends, maybe we could be seeing some footing.
Um, well, I was gonna say I think that the non-face side of the fandom or the minis side of the fandom that are like constantly doing these one-off games where everyone knows each other and yada yada yada. Like I think that just with peace and love, you don't have to put in as much effort. It's like you already know your friends. You can just kind of like vibe in the game. That's not what this is. And I think even if Citrus, kind of in the same way that I think Julia like thought that she had talked to some people and
Yeah,
could be fine, but realistically, they just haven't. Citrus isn't having longer conversations with people, and it's why she's ended up on the block twice in a row. And the reason I'm going to ultimately stay at my 3 is because unless she wins HOH, there's still not a duo in sight.
yeah.
That is not only not going to put her and Jamie up, but now that Julie's gone, I think actively target them. So I'm gonna be at a 3 for Citrus once again. Strictly from a social positioning standpoint, she's just on the bottom of the house. Um, and I don't see there being a lot of upward momentum for her based off of what game talk she's had so far.
hmm Um, yeah, I do really like Citrus as well, especially because I mean she's definitely talking more. Again, low bar here, talking more than Julia did. So I wouldn't like equally compare them to. Also worth noting, great pullout in the veto this week. 5 versus 1, and Citrus pulled out a veto win. Not that
Yeah.
she probably would have gone home anyway, but still, like extremely impressive to keep Danny on the block and take herself off. Worth noting. Um, yeah, I was debating going down to a 2. I think I'm gonna stay at my 3 for this week. Just someone who like likes to be here, and it's exciting. And I think people were kind of clocking her and Julia. Julia was being very careless with what she was posting, like on stories and such. And I think now that she's gone, maybe she'll realize that she might have to work a little harder for more relationships. So I'd be interested. I'd be very interested to see Citrus surviving this twist. Um,
If
and
Citrus can survive this twist in the upcoming week, do I think that she still goes up on the block consistently? Yeah, I do. Do I think that she's going up on the block as the target that people want out? No, I think she's going to be a continuous pawn,
on, yeah.
and then all of a sudden a different target will emerge, and we're going to start knocking off some different, maybe more power players here in the coming weeks. So I'll be interested. I still think that Citrus could have legs to make it a decent way in, but in terms of agency herself, I don't see it happening.
At least not at this point from this perspective. But we'll see
Mhm.
how the rest of the 3 weeks goes. Damon.
Um, Alrighty, yeah, moving on to Damon here. Last week I was at a 5 for Damon, you were at a 4.
Mhm.
Damon's a really interesting one because Um, for those that have been fans of the BBSS rankings for a while, I say this quite often. It is better to be paranoid about your position and working as though you're from the bottom because you're going to be ready for anything than thinking that you're totally fine and being comfortable, even though you may be at the top. Right now, Damon thinks that, like, yeah, I've talked to everyone. Everyone loves me because there's not a lot going on in the game. I can just sit back. And then once we get to the part of the game where it's time to game, I will wake it up and start running shit. And newsflash, Damon, not the case. I do think people like Damon in the conversations that they've had. However, it has all been surface level. Um, but kind of in that same way, I do still see Caden doing a lot of good work in pulling their average up. So I, for me, will be staying at my 5 because I think the chances of them hitting the block heading into next week are low. I think there are other duos that have a higher chance of hitting the block than them. But with that being said, this 5 is like the last 5 I'm going to give him because at the end of next week, we're going to be in a stage of the game where we've just ended the duos. And I think the minute that he is tied away, like not tied to Caden and doesn't have that pulling him up, his stock majorly drops unless he changes something or gets some sort of wake up call. Um, at towards the end of the week here, Caden did like start texting Damon. Like Caden's been trying to get Damon to like do a little more of this himself. And Caden finally was like, I think at the point of like just saying it how it is. And Caden was like, no, Damon, like I talk to people and they're like, yeah, they don't hear from you and they don't connect with you. And these little questionnaires that you're doing are not more than surface level. And Damon, as I for the first time, was like, oh, this is bad. And I think has started to rectify that. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But I'm gonna be staying at my 5 for Damon this week.
Yeah, to give him credit, that is true. And also has been like to everyone, like, hey, shoot, I'm so sorry. I haven't been able to like really connect with people. I'm making an active effort to change that. It's just like been hard, blah, 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 blah. For now, I'm staying on my 4 though. I don't really have a reason to go up. And low key flopping right now. And you know what? Flops get 4s from me. So 4.5 for me. But we'll see how this week goes. Okay, 4.5. Danny.
Danny, alrighty. I'm gonna pretty much lead with my score here. For someone that was a final nominee for the week, I shouldn't still be at a 7, but I'm going to be. I'm gonna stay at my 7. And I honestly think I will like could have considered going up to an 8 had he not been on the block. I still think whether or not he was on the block, I think I likely still stay at a 7. I don't think he's enough control for me to really push him to that 8 yet. Um, but like he went up in the duos duel, lost, although sincerely, but like did have the correct read of like maybe it's better that Ashlyn wins anyway, because I think that I've got a good chance of staying. In the veto, had 5 out of 6 people wanting to take him off the block. Did the one scenario happen where he didn't come off the block? Yeah. But still, having 5 people in the veto wanting to take you off, insane. And then as soon as Julia went up on the block, like he did the active campaigning for himself. And like even when he did it, people were like, Danny, like I appreciate this, but like, yeah, I'm keeping. Like people didn't even need like he could have done nothing and still been totally but he put in the active effort. I think in that campaign made a lot of good individual bonds with people. I think people really like him. I think a lot of people see him as like a number one or someone to pull in and use for a little bit. I just think that he is in one of, if not the best social positionings in the house. I think Caden is probably leading the strategic positioning right now, but I think Danny is leading the social positioning. I would have maybe once given that to Suba, but I am now concretely going to give that to Danny. Um, yeah, just really good work. I'm really excited to see what he does. I still do have the concern of like maybe down the line, like, is he going to be cutthroat enough? I haven't seen that cutthroat edge from Danny yet. Granted, there has been no need for it. And there are some people that are getting a little cutthroat for like no reason because like why are we cutting our allies at this point? There are still so many like why are we even like considering that option right now? Danny's just good at building up all of these things, all of these ally options. And if he can make it through again next week without touching the block, I don't think he'll be nominated for a very long
Hmm.
time. So I'm gonna stay at my 7,
Um, I'm gonna go down to a 6.
and
Uh,
that's fair.
but yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I think Danny is here to stay, here to play, here to stay, and I like his chances of going far. So I'm excited to see what Danny does. Was nominated this week, um, so I feel like that always has some points for me. But yeah, very deserving of a green score despite being on the block because I mean he had virtually no chance of going home this week. So 6 from me, and that's a 6.5 for Danny. Cool, Jamie.
Yes, moving on to Jamie. Jamie, for me, I'm like, ugh, I had such higher hopes for her. She's someone that if she, I don't know, I don't see where she goes because I just don't think, I don't think she understands what commitment people are looking for in terms of having consistent conversations and feeling like they can trust her. I think she's a very capable player in the conversations that she has had. However, kind of for the same reason as Citrus, and the reason I was at the 4 for Jamie last week. Last week I was at the 4 for Jamie because I thought there was no week that she enters this week and doesn't hit the block. That was true. In this week, though, there were some people that started to voice like, Jamie is now won not one but two duos duels. Yes, it's against Citrus, but like these duo duels, like we're reading the rules, like they don't seem like super easy. She's clearly good enough at these like types of games. Like people see her as a legit comp threat with no reason to keep her around. And I think that she is one of the most likely people to head out in the next week or two here. Um, so I unfortunately will be lowering my score to a 3. I'm kind of at the same point with Jamie and Citrus because I think they are in equally dangerous territory. And I just haven't seen Jamie having like her name hasn't come up in my messages a lot of like her actively reaching out to people. Some people have reached out to her to like give her a chance. But for me, it's just not happening, unfortunately. So I think that there is no way that her and Citrus avoid the block heading into week 3, unless they win HOH. Um, and yeah, kind of a chop from me. So flops get 4s, but chops get 3. And unfortunately, this is a
Chops.
chop. Um, so
The term I
yeah,
don't know.
it's gonna be a 3 from me. It's a chop.
What is a chop?
I don't know. It's like you gotta get like it's a you're getting axed.
No, I don't know. Check in. No. Okay. I'm gonna do a 3 as well for Jamie. Great prowess in these duo duel competitions. Um, yeah, which is like weird because it's like for someone like Julia, I'm like, what are you like? You're not even trying. Like Jamie is trying, and it's like not getting her anywhere, which is sad. But 3 for me.
All right.
All right.
On to Jason.
Peace on.
Okay. I have a lot to say about Jason, and I'm really conflicted on what score to give here. Because Jason, starting off with the good, I think simultaneously was able to set himself up in a lot more things this week. He officially made an alliance with Danny and Caden. And I think both Danny and Caden trust Jason enough to like bring him along for a little bit and see him as a valuable tool, maybe less so than an ally. Um, but I think they both know that they can like strategize with him, get good vibes, bouncing off. Um, Jason and Juan have now also set up this. They have duo chat set up with Left Terry and Riley, which I think is great for them because I think no one else really has a read on Left Terry and Riley, and I think they really trust Jason. I think Karina and Kaylin really both trust Jason, because they set up that duo chat with them. Um, and there's another duo chat that was set up. I think it's Danny and Ashlyn. Um, More so at the lead of Juan being like, Ashlyn, you need to talk to people. And Ashlyn was like, great, a duos chat. Um, but even still, so he has like a lot of things going. So all of that is good. He's got two big blind spots. One of them is his fault, one of them is not. The one that is his fault is in these moments of the game that things seem to be at rest because the target is set. Julian's not talking to a lot of people. Julia's not talking to a lot of people. Although it seems like while yes, the target is set and the vote is set, the game is not stagnant. Things are still moving, and I think people are plotting and planning things and are building trust with one another that are not with him. There was a lot of things built this week, specifically like the group with Karina, Juan, and Kaden that like Danny was thinking about being looped into as well, and Suba and Cyan are on the hunt to try and get something going. And there's just a lot of things happening. And I think Jason has kind of both of like being busy and traveling. I don't blame him at all. I mean, I was with him all weekend. And like he didn't want to be on his phone like playing this game, which like I totally understand. I don't fault him for that. Um, but I think it started to get away from him in a way that he's not super expecting. His other blind spot, which is not his fault at all, is the fact that Juan has arbitrarily decided to throw Jason under the bus at every turn and is starting to like dig him a grave for what reason? I don't know. We'll get to Juan in a second. Um, so with all that being said, I think that good was good enough and has offset the negatives to where I'm gonna stay at a 6 because he has done well, and I really think that there is while this Howdy Partners twist is in play, there is no way that he and Juan go up on the block. They have set themselves up well with literally every single duo, which is why I'm saying at a 6. However, if I had to predict where I'm gonna be at in a week's time after the final Howdy Partners twist, um, where he's no longer tied to a duo, where all of a sudden Juan is going to have free range to really just like go ham and toss him under the bus. I do worry for him. And I think that's when my score is going to start to slip unless he can get some sort of grasp on what's happening for real in week 3 here. So for week 2, I'm going to stay at my 6. However, it is a scary 6 that I worry will become a 5 or worse heading into week 3 and what then will become the double eviction shortly thereafter that. So, not to get ahead of ourselves, there's a lot of game to happen. It's a 6 for Jason, but it may be the final 6 for a while, is where I'm at.
Yeah, Juan's gonna be someone interesting to talk about. Because I don't really know what he's doing. He's so Jacob, I feel like.
Well, we're talking about Jason first.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like,
Oh,
Jason tied with Juan here. Um, I'm gonna stay at my 6 as well. Uh, I do think if you're saying that he's been away because of traveling, I feel like he will be coming back to play a little more up in the front. He missed the HOH this week. Totally, like again, totally okay. Because I feel like he's someone that will be here and will be back. Um, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm very interested. Scott, you said you gave this twist an A minus. I don't know what I'm gonna give it yet. Um, I'm definitely excited for it to be over though.
I
Uh,
think the 3 weeks was the perfect amount of time. I'm excited for it to be over. I think it's added a nice dynamic to the game that's like it's added another level of strategy, and I think has given some players, for example, Kalen, um, like a better chance than they would have had normally.
uh,
It's given people a jumping off point. It is tough to work around, but I think after this 3rd week of it coming up here and it's ready to dissipate, I think it will have done its job, added what it needed to add,
yeah,
and then chip
I
off.
like parts of it and not other parts. Uh, I like the dynamic it's added to the game. I don't know if I like, yeah, again, how like it's easy to toss people back up on the block when you're nominating a duo, I think. But anyway,
I
I'm
only think that's easy if you have a duo like Citrus and Jamie that just like don't do shit.
I wouldn't say they don't do shit, but I think it's easy to be when they're nominated in the first place to be like Oh, we'll just do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens to like Danny and Ashlyn.
Yeah. Juan. Speaking of Juan.
Speaking of Juan and Ashlyn.
No, I meant like.
But yeah, at a 6 for Jason this week. Moving on to Juan. Um, I started to say it last week. Juan is so Jacob Taplin, and watch the season 11 rankings, and you'll learn very quickly about how I feel about Jacob Taplin's style of gameplay. It drives me fucking crazy.
Kind of funny though.
And here's the thing. It like works.
It got him third place. Yeah.
It's very rat floater.
Not to be confused with Rat Puppet.
Yeah, very much not rat puppet. One thing about Juan, he will like I don't think that Juan will ever be puppeted into doing what someone else wants. To the point where it's like, even if Juan has just like a normal strategic conversation with an ally, he'll be like, they're trying to get me to do something. Oh my God, I'm being manipulated. I have to take them out now. It's like Juan, calm down. Um, I just want Juan to like look at the allies that he has and trust in them, but that's not like exactly what's happening. He's so pinned on like making sure Ashlyn is set up, um, which is very Jacob and Anna Fontes coded to me. Ashlyn's doing better than Anna Fontes was, but even still, um, then he's like trying to throw Jason under the bus, which is very like Paige and Eric coded, where it's like Jason is like loyal to the soil with Juan, I feel like. Um, and Juan is just not having it for some reason. Um, so there's that. He set himself up well with Karina and Kaden. He set himself up with Cyan and Suba and had good conversations with them. Um, all to say is this. I'm going to be staying at my 6 for Juan. I never once was considering going down. Um, he doesn't have the control right now for me to give him a 7, and I don't think yet has the positioning either. However, one thing about this style of gameplay, like Juan is always going to strike first. That's what we saw with Jacob. And to a certain extent, like it doesn't do I think that Juan is going to strike first and ultimately make a lot of wrong moves along the way? No tea, no shade, Juan. Yeah, I think he's going to make a lot of missteps.
Oh,
However, I think with the gameplay style like Juan, like we saw with Jacob, missteps don't necessarily matter if it's like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's like Juan's constantly going to be moving and doing shit. And I think that constant moving thing is going to constantly like keep him like fine unless someone really tries to like get him and like catches on. So like I'll be
I think
interested
it
to see.
might be too early to tell as of right now.
I agree.
But
But
I'm
yeah,
gonna stay at my,
I'm at a 6 for Juan.
I'm gonna
I'm
stay at my
interested.
6 too. Um, good spot. Yeah, you're right. As long as this duos twist is still going on, which is one more week, I don't think Jason and Juan are seeing the block. Uh, and that's good enough for me to stay at a 6 for right now. 6. Nice. Julia.
Julia.
Speaking of Juan,
Um,
Juan.
so yeah, it's gonna be a 1 for me too. Um, great. Moving on to no.
I don't. I seriously don't have anything else to say.
I mean, like it's Julia seems perfectly nice, wonderful person, but like kind of similar to Julian. She realized she might be in some trouble and did like start to put in a little effort. And then I think ultimately either was like, I actually don't care, or was like, great, that was my effort. And it's like, nope, that wasn't it, girl. Um, she like went to Karina after and was like, I never would have done this to you. Like, I think this is just the easy move. And like Karina was like, I mean, yeah, I don't think you would have done it to me either, but I don't think you would have done this to anyone because I don't think you're gonna be here to do anything. And like, what was I gonna do? Like burn a bridge with someone that's actually gonna be here to win? Like, no, sorry. Like, you just haven't put in any effort with me. And it's like, yeah, clock it. Um, she didn't campaign to stay. There was no shot in hell she was ever going to stay against Danny anyway, with how the game has been set up. Um, and this just wasn't it.
T.
Julia, key, take that key, unlock the front door, and walk out it. Okay. Anything to say? Or moving on to Karina?
No, Karina.
Karina. Okay.
I love Karina.
Karina is going to be one to watch out for this season. This HOH week was
Camilla.
beautifully flawless. Um, Again, an easy week. However, I think compared to Jason and Juan, Jason and Juan like did the easy week thing and then kind of like coasted on it. Like Karina really set up a lot for herself this week. I think has really good individual relationships with almost everyone in the house. Got away with backdooring Julia, which everyone was like, yes, go Karina. We love it. Take out the inactive people. Like they actively supported it. She also showed this week that she's good at comps. I think she's major Grace Fader upside here. And maybe I'm thinking that because they both have the power that they got on day one that'll come into effect later in the game that they can pass on. I think that's definitely where this has started. But I think even like social positioning, like good at comps, has just really done a really good, awesome job. Um, Even being tied to someone like Kaylin, um, I don't think that there's anyone that puts her up next week, maybe aside from Citrus and Jamie if they win. Um, because Karina did such a good job. She also does such a good job, like working with Kaylin, getting a good read on like how Kaylin plays, and like talking to some of her other allies, being like, yeah, like it's not like Kaylin's here. Like we've all talked to her, but I just think Kaylin has a different pace of playing the game. You just have to catch her at the right moment. But like she clearly knows what she's doing and she's here to play, which is all true. And we'll get to Kaylin in a second. Um, but like I don't have enough good things to say about Karina. I think she's going to be here for a long time. I think she's going to be a dangerous force in this game. People don't take care of her soon, and I don't think people are going to. So all that being said, I was at a 6 last week just for good social gameplay, and now I feel like she's really stamped her like position in this game, and I will be raising my score to a 7 for Karina.
Yeah, I'm gonna go up to a 7 too. I think she really used this HOH very well. And I think she's gonna be one to stay here for a while. I think people really like her. And yeah, 7 from me as well. Oh, I almost gave Julian a 7. That would have been wrong. 7 for Karina. First 7 of the week.
Go Karina.
Kaylin. Other
Okay,
HOH for the week.
our other HOH for the week. And here's the thing, all things considered, I'm not mad at it either.
No.
I think Kaylin did a pretty good job. And granted, I'm now like operating on the Sean Bierman friends scale of like what is like good and bad. And I don't mean that as a read, except I do. So the but I do think Caitlyn has actually done a really good job. She's like, I think this week of HOH allowed her to just like start having some more game conversations with people. I think people do trust her, also due in fact to the fact that she's tied to Karina. Um, but randomly, like her and Damon have like a really good relationship, which I find really funny for some reason. Um, she set up the chat with Juan and Jason. Um, has like kept people in the loop about her plans. Was like very much, I think, the proponent of like, hey, like Karina, like, should we like let other people know about what we're doing? Should we make people feel safe this week? I want to like give people a heads up. And I was like, okay, yeah, good. She's definitely talked to a lot more people. Do I think that she is in like a solid position? No, I think she is still playing a bit from behind. However, it's not nearly as much as I feel like it was in week one. Um, so I'm gonna be raising my score to a 5 for Kaylin. I'm definitely out of the red zone. I don't think quite in the green zone yet. I'll be interested to see where she lands after this duos twist ends, though. But for right now, it's going to be a 5 for me for Caitlin.
Me too. Um, I think Caitlyn isn't in a bad spot, especially this early in the game, and I think winning HOH definitely helped her more than if she just kind of went by another week. Having to really like solidify a relationship with Karina, I think is was key, and hopefully Karina will have her back moving forward. But yeah, pretty clean week from her. She just put up some people, and yeah, pretty clean. So 5 from me for Kaylin. I love Sean Bierman's flop friends. There we go.
This coin has been turned for them, and like they're not flops. Like love Kaylin, love other Kaylin, and Abby and Caroline and Chloe.
But they
Um,
flopped.
Chloe really is the leading proponent of like
And I'd say
flip.
Abby. Like Abby flopped.
But Abby didn't pretend to not be flopping. Like
But that
Chloe,
doesn't
I
make her not a flop.
but there's a different like
If a
here's the thing.
flop acknowledges their flopness, does that make them any less of a flop?
Yeah, I think so. Like
Oh, I
Abby was
figured.
like, yeah, I'm pretty bad at this, but we're gonna give it a try. Like Chloe like actively like thought not putting the veto on herself was a good idea. Um, but all to say, I think Kaylin knows what she's doing, and I don't think we should count her out just yet.
Definitely not. Left Terry.
Left Terry. Okay.
Theros Molinakis.
Um, I have good and bad things to say, and then I'm gonna give my score. The good thing to say about Left
That
Terry
happens
is,
every time.
not every time, but like they're like he's someone that I definitely have pros and cons for. The pros are I think he has definitely started to branch out to some more people and has had some good conversations. I was listening in on a conversation he was having with Cyan that I think was really good. Cyan, I think, really seems to like with Terry. Um, I think obviously him and Riley's relationship is still good. And he's got that relationship with Jason and Juan as well. So I think all of that is good. I don't think it's enough good to unfortunately net off the negatives that have come from this week. And that comes from the fact that I think people are a bit sketched out by him for some reason. I think that's largely coming from Caden. Um, Caden has really led the charge of like I think Left Terry and Riley are a good person, a good duo to put up. Maybe target Left Terry because Caden doesn't talk to Left Terry all that much. Um, Caden's been pretty vocal about that, and some other people, even Kaylin and Karina this week, like if it wasn't Danny and Ashlyn on the block, it was going